Hello, Sophie. My name is Alexa Alvarado Rendon. How are you? Today we are recording an interview for my multiculturalism class. Can you please specify your name, gender, main identity traits, and cultural background?
My name is Sofia Herrera. I'm a female. My culture background is Mexican, born in the United States, and I'm white, medium, high class. I'm heterosexual, and I'm a Catholic. I've lived in the United States my whole life, and I've moved twice.
Great, thank you very much. So, first question is, what is your perspective on lack of education and its relationship with unemployment? And how did you acquire this perspective?
My perspective of lack of education and its relationship with unemployment is basically how without an education, it's hard to understand how to live in the real world. And with unemployment, it doesn't allow people to have opportunities to go and do the jobs that they want to do and succeed in.
That is definitely true. The right education leads the way to a successful future. Sometimes we think that the system may not be as complete as they say it is to fulfill your passions, but I think that it definitely opens up new opportunities in life for everyone to accomplish their dreams. Anyways, next question is, which aspects of your cultural identity can you relate to this issue?
Identity can relate to this issue because a lot of white people can get jobs very easily, and it's harder for anyone that is not from the United States or that have different racial identities to get a job as easy as someone who has had a good education and a good upbringing.
You're actually very right. And me being a Mexican that knows how people leave our country to find better opportunities in the US and then finding out that it's not as easy to get a job there as they think it is. And I hadn't seen it from that perspective. And it's so important to actually notice it and be educated about it because we need to change how we see different racial identities and make sure that we are all being included in this world that we live in. So the next question is, what is the impact of lack of education on your personal life?
The impact of lack of education in my life is that people that I'm going to end up working with in the future might not have as good as an education that I got when I was younger and in high school and throughout my 12 years of schooling.
I agree that that will probably generate a big impact in your life, Sophie. And we know people can be successful without an education, and we have huge role models such as Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, etc. But I also know that the amount of effort we put into school is important in order to be prepared enough for a real job. So I understand this comes from your personal perspective, and I would like to know what do you think are the beliefs about this issue in your peer group, family, and community?
I feel like a lot of people think the same things as I do just because it's a general topic and something that everyone is facing here in the United States and all around the world.
It definitely makes a lot of sense that your family and close friend group thinks very similar to you because it is really easy to be influenced by each other's ideas when we hang out with them pretty much all the time. So, the next question is, how do you think these groups acquire this perspective or beliefs?
Something that a lot of people go through and have been closed minded until it's happened to them and it's opened many people's eyes and opportunities and helps them realize to not take things for granted.
Now, how do you think lack of education and its relationship with unemployment is present in Mexico?
Public schools here in the United States have a great education, it's safe, and you learn the same as in private school. And in Mexico, private school is safer and has better education compared to public schools.
I agree with you on that one. I think Mexico's public school system has a lot of aspects to improve from, and it would be very nice to have a safe environment where you know you're reaching your students' highest potential in terms of education, social life, health, and knowing that you have a safe future, even if you do or do not have money to invest to. So now I'm going to present to you some cultural expressions from three different countries, and I would really like to know what is your perspective and what do you think about each one of them. So the first one is about how in Mexico it is very common for kids in stoplights to either sell or make little shows of entertainment for the people in traffic lights in order to get some change. The amount of money they make a day is the bare minimum, and it can even be considered child labor since they are missing on school and basic education to get money for their families. It is even officially recommended by the ONU to not give money to these kids because instead of helping them, we are impulsing them to continue with these actions and stop their education for quick money. The second one is about the United States. I think this piece of art is so meaningful because it says so much about the topic in a simple act. We can see a kid who is clearly poor and unnourished eating out of a book. It is so ironic because the kid should be in a healthy state and instead of eating that book, he should be reading it. It is so sad how opportunities change so much depending on where you come from and overall your entire cultural background. The third country's cultural expression is about India. While I was looking for something to present in this project, I noticed something kind of weird and I was very disappointed with it. I looked up with the same exact words, just changing the country's name, education in the USA and education in India. The pictures were drastically different. In the first option, the whole variety of pictures I saw were healthy kids using technology and learning in the best conditions. While the second option, with India, we can see poor communities united to learn in overall not the best conditions. It is sad because it's 2021 and that's all I could see from India's education, when in fact, that is just a single story the whole world is receiving except for India and the people who actually know the educational system they manage. That not only happens in India, it also happens with Mexico. I'm sure India has its own problems with their educational system and its impact with unemployment as well as Mexico does. But I also think it's important to see both sides of the realities in a country. So, that is in conclusion my three perspectives on the cultural expressions of education in Mexico, India, and the United States. I want to hear from you, Sophie. What do you think about these three cultural expressions I showed to you?
This cultural expression shows that in Mexico, kids who don't have money try and put on shows at stoplights to make ends meet. And in the United States, people just hold posters that say that they need money to try and live life. By NVIDIA is showing that even in the United States, if you're poor and don't have anything to live off of, you still have the basic education and you still know the bare minimum. People think that in India, people are not educated just because they don't have shoes on their feet or are eating out of trash cans, but they're very intelligent and well educated and smarter than an average person.
That is an interesting point of view, Sophie. As closure, I would like to discuss our new perspective that we both learned from this dialogue.
In Mexico, I feel like it's very different and hard to be able to get a good education if you aren't a part of the high class or middle class. And it brings a lot of troubles to people because they don't get an equal opportunity in getting a job or living and succeeding in their social life when they grow up or go to college. In Mexico, it's also very different when going to college and high school because in Mexico, you do one less year and high school and middle school is all set up differently than here in the United States.
It's so good to know that you have learned so much about Mexico already. And I think we definitely battled some single stories that you may have received from either Google, as we saw with India, and as well with just overall educating yourself about other countries other from the USA. That most definitely applies to me as well. I came into this interview knowing how good USA's public educational system was. I almost thought it was perfect, but I hadn't even considered the fact that inequality plays a huge role in the quality of education kids receive, as well as the opportunities they will be able to find in the future while looking for a job. And meanwhile, Mexico's number one issue is lack of money to pay for quality education. We also don't have the best record on respecting our different cultural backgrounds. One clear example is the indigenous. There are very little schools that have teachers who know how to speak dialects and that have the required knowledge to teach students of different cultural communities. Of course, these are huge disadvantages that will play a huge role on their futures. It is very likely they will have to work in very low wage jobs or stay in the streets in need of minimal change to survive. With that said, we have finished our interview. Thank you so much, Sophie, for sharing with me very important things about education in the USA and just your point of view about unemployment and its relationship with it. See you next time. Bye.